The challenges that grid operators and utilities face today is being compounded by the fact that we're retiring on the sources side. We're retiring a lot of the traditional thermal assets like coal plants and gas plants in favor of renewable, which is great, but those are intermittent sources. So a lot more difficult to plan for and not available, as by the very nature of the word intermittent, not available all the time. And then on the demand side, we are seeing inflection points in demand. After decades of relative kind of flatness in energy demand, we're now seeing increases in demand with EV adoption. We're seeing, of course, AI with data center build-outs, cryptocurrency mining. And so the pressure that's being put on grid operators and utilities is creating a situation where it's manifesting itself in poorer reliability. So as Americans, we're experiencing more and more hours in the dark every year. So on average, about 8 hours a year, and that's the average. So our products and our company have been serving this need, the need for resiliency, for a long time for homeowners and business owners. And so where we sit today is those products are in high demand and have been over the last several decades. And we're now starting to look at some of the other trends that are manifesting from the macro theme here of a new grid. And it's really going to be focused on cost. I think the untold story here going forward, and we're starting to see evidence of it in certain markets like California, where energy prices, electricity prices have really skyrocketed. In the US, they've gone up about 50% over the last 2 decades. They're projected to double in the next 2 decades. So I think this is the thing that, as we invest in this transition of the grid and as we try to deal with some of the challenges that are coming here, the combination of less reliability while you're paying more for that service is not a great combination. We think we have products and services that can help with that.
Well, let's get into the cost, because we've been looking at this from, I think I was telling you I cover the U.S. economy for the most part. This is my little side hustle in here. But on the outside, when we're looking at, what all of these costs to consumers are, electricity, utilities broadly have really been going up, especially if you're in an area where you're affected by climate and natural disasters. So how is this transition? I mean, it sounds like it's going to be probably more expensive and then hopefully be, a cheaper alternative in the long run. How do you see that playing out?
From our vantage point, certainly costs are going up. And I, as far as if it works out cheaper in the long run, I think it'll be cleaner in the long run. I think that, I think the effort here that is driving a lot of the costs, there's a couple things. One, the grid is just old, right? When if you take a walk and you go anywhere in most places in the US, the grid is above ground. There's poles, there's transformers, there's power lines. A lot of that equipment has been there for 50 plus years. So it's like a road or a bridge. At some point, it has to be refreshed. And so there's an infrastructure spend anyway. If you set aside the entire discussion around climate change, there still was a big bill coming in terms of needing the infrastructure rebuild. Now, on top of that, as we decarbonize and we move towards renewables, and we have to deal with this idea that these sources are going to be intermittent and harder to plan for, and we need more of that power, you've got this unique setup that says, okay, we've got to invest in technology in a way that we haven't had to invest before when you're talking about the power grid. And the grid is so central to everything we do as homeowners or business owners.
Do you think that it's going to be more you providing generators is it going to be more providing generators or providing the grid with storage for like wind and solar?
I think it's going to be both, right? So generators are going to be, if you're concerned about a long duration outage, right? If you have hurricanes, ice storms, things like this that can knock out the power for days on end, a generator is a great, that's an asset you're going to want to own. Mm-hmm. The idea though is that asset could also be deployed maybe at times when you don't need it, but maybe when the grid does, right? So there's ideas that the generator could be part of that solution. Batteries, as you say though, Alex, is exactly I think the newest technology. Still from a price standpoint, still pretty expensive though. And that's something that I think we've got to deal with. And the cost curve it's been coming down, but yet it's still something that, it's not there yet.
So I was in so I cover energy for my side hustle. And
your main hustle.
It's semi-hustle. So the data center conversation is huge in terms of how you power it. And we've seen like Amazon buy like a nuclear power center like near where they're going to build stuff. Are you going to be like going to tech companies and being like, hey, I can build you this enormous generator for your data center?
That's not necessarily us. I mean, we're going to stick to smaller
Okay.
installations. We call them behind the meter installations. So
Okay.
managing power, either backing up power or managing it behind the meter. So at the customer connection, again, home or a business. But the AI conversation has, I think, I don't want to say it's caught the utility industry flat-footed, but the projections are
Kinda.
enormous. It
Yeah.
kind of has. I mean, the speed at which it's, the adoption of technology. A single chat GPT request takes 17 times the amount of energy as a typical Google search. 17 times, just a
my
single
gosh.
chat GPT request. So think about that, and you multiply that across all the places that you can use that technology, AI, and it's going to be fantastic and it's awesome, but it's really energy intensive.